Hi everybody, this is Mr. Short. Today I'm going to describe a project that you're going to be working on soon. The project is about the integumentary system and specifically disorders of the integumentary system. Each one of you is going to be assigned a particular topic. The topic title would go right here, so maybe it's hives or basal cell carcinoma. And then you would put your name down here and you would put the date down here that you turned the project in. Also note the way that I've set this up, that you've got speaker notes that can go down here. We're going to be talking about speaker notes in a minute. So again, throughout this presentation, what I'm going to do is to show you how you're going to set up your project. The project is either going to be a Google slide presentation or a PowerPoint presentation. Now, you're not actually giving the presentation verbally. All you're doing is creating the slides this time. For your presentation, what you're going to do is to follow what I call a modified 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint presentations. So we'll go through and we'll talk about what each of those numbers mean. Keep in mind, this is a modified version of the 10-20-30 rule, though. All right, 10 refers to the maximum number of slides. Your project in this case will be 10 slides. In the future, we might change that. It might be a little bit longer or maybe a little bit shorter, but this time we're going to define what you're going to put on each of those 10 slides. All right, 20. If you were to give a presentation, it would last no longer than 20 minutes. Now again, like it says right here, this time you are not giving a presentation, so that's not relevant. 30. We're going to modify the 30 and we're going to say 25. 25 is the smallest font size that you can have on every slide. Okay, so we're going to be referring throughout this year to the 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint presentation, but we might modify it as needed for individual projects in the future. Take a look down at the bottom. I've got these speaker notes that are right down here. I'm going to be talking about the speaker notes on the next slide. But just note right here that the purpose for the 30 is twofold. And again, keep in mind, it's a modified 25 this time. All right, here's the first purpose. Because 25-point font is a relatively large font size, everybody in the audience can see your words if it were to be projected onto a screen. And then the second purpose is this. Again, since it's a relatively large font size, it makes you pick and choose your words carefully that you put onto the screen up here. But you also need to expand on those words in this speaker notes section. So here you give a summary, and here you can give a lot of details. Okay, so again, two purposes. Large font size allows everybody to see. Large font size forces you to summarize in the slides up here, but then you can expand down here in the speaker notes. All right, so again, speaker notes. You have to have speaker notes on each of your slides except for the reference page, which is the very last slide here. So that means even the intro slide where it says topic, your name, you've got to give some brief introduction, right? Give the audience some reason to listen to what you're going to be saying or to learn a little bit about the topic. Okay, speaker notes, they guide your discussion during a presentation. Again, you're not giving a presentation this time, but you have to include the speaker notes. All right, and then this point, speaker notes can be bulleted or you can write it in paragraph format, whichever one you see fit. Again, speaker notes on all slides except for the very last slide, which is the reference page. Okay, here's a general outline of the order of slides and what information you're going to be putting on those slides for this particular presentation. So slide 1, topic and name. Slide 2, this is a broad general description of the disease. Okay, you want to let the audience understand some basic aspects of the disease. You don't want to dive in with all of the details in this slide 2. And then basically in slides 3 through 8, you're going to talk about some common things that you might discuss for any particular disease, whether it's of the integumentary system or any other system. So slide 3, what is the disease? Is it an infection, an allergy, cancer, some other type of thing? Describe it in broad general terms. Slide 4, how do you get this disease and how is it diagnosed? Slide number 5, what are the symptoms of the disease? Slide number 6, you need to give a visual perspective of the disease. So in slides 6 and 7, you're going to give both text writing in the slide, and then you're also going to give a visual picture or a diagram that supports that writing. So slide 7, this would be a microscopic perspective of the disease. Slide 8, potential treatments for the disease. Slide 9, you would want to go back and review important concepts. Restate the most important information, and you're basically asking the question, what do you want the audience to remember? If it's something that's really important and you want the audience to remember it, you want that to be included in slide 9. Then slide 10, references. I'm going to point out 2 references that I've got in slides 6 and 7 when we get to those. Okay. So here would be an example of my first slide. It's got a description of the disease, psoriasis, my name, the date. Okay, I would also put some supporting details down here just to grab the audience's attention about psoriasis. Here's an example of my slide 6. It gives the visual perspective of the disease. Again, I would use, typo here, would write speaker notes that would support and expand upon the text description that's right up here. Okay. Notice right up here that I've given what's called an in-text citation, parentheses 1. Parentheses 1 is an in-text citation, and this is going to relate to reference 1 on slide 10. Okay? So when you give information here, you need to include references, and that's something that's going to be reflected in the grading rubric that Mr. Harper presents. Here's the microscopic perspective slide, which is slide 7. Again, speaker notes would support and expand upon what we see up here. Okay, and again, see how right here I've put parentheses 2 indicating reference 2. We'll see that reference 2, when we get to slide 10. I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, this would be an example of slide 9 where we review important concepts. The guiding question that I've asked right here is, what are the most important things that you want your audience to understand about this disease? What do you want them to remember, given that they've spent time listening to you and watching the slides? All right, so that would be slide 9. And then this is an example of slide 10, where you make and cite your references. So I want you to use MLA format, and it's really simple. You can go to this website called citationmachine.net, and you can follow these directions that are right here. Basically, if you found your resource on the internet, what you would do is you would copy and paste the website URL address, and then you would follow these series of steps. You've copied and pasted it. You paste it at this step right here, and then you just follow these steps, and eventually it gives you a reference that looks like this, or that looks like this. So remember, this right here was on a slide that was about a visual perspective of psoriasis. And this right here comes from a reference that related to the microscopic perspective of psoriasis. Okay, so we've got the in-text citations that are referenced right here using citationmachine.net. Okay, for this one right here, because we probably want this to be one single slide, you can use smaller than 25-point font on this particular slide. So I can see right here that this is 19-point font, and probably if I had a number of references, 3, 4, 5 references, if I use 19-point font, I would still be able to see them if I was an audience member, but as the presenter, they would all fit on one slide right there. Okay, so that's a brief introduction to the project that you're going to be working on that relates to a disease of the integumentary system. We'll be talking about this in class when we see you inside the building. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. The due date for this project is going to be the second Sunday in this 2-week cycle, which is going to be Sunday, October 11th. Thanks a lot, and see you guys soon.